Drink, Hellscream. Claim your destiny. You will all be conquerors.
You don't need any of that stuff, Grom. Stick with me, and you don't need the blood of demons to be a conqueror. Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Giant Grant Games, and by now I think you know why we're here. Here's a quick refresher on the rules to the run, and before we started, I wanted to thank my patrons. They're the ones that make these videos possible. Extending a special thanks to Paint in My Eye and Eeyore Lover. Alright, let's jump into this. Warcraft 3 really likes starting off with no build missions. Landfall is pretty simple. Find my stranded allies, meet Karen Bloodhoof, and defend against a centaur attack. Orc have a problem that the other factions don't. They lack any sort of hero-based healing. Arthas was incredible at keeping his buddies patched up during his campaigns. Thrall, on the other hand, has a high damage chain lightning, but nothing for army durability. In this mission, problem is alleviated by healing wards dropping off of these murlocs. This brought me a problem. Wards and goblin landmines straddle the line between what a unit is and what an item is. While some items summon things that are obviously units, wards are uncontrollable by any means, and are effectively a totem pole in the ground with a timed duration. While contemplating if sticks deserve rights, I find this Tauren. As soon as I pass an invisible trigger, this crippled cowboy gets crushed by Cutthroat Centaur. According to rule number 2, I have to do my best to keep him alive. Luckily, I had an idea that could solve both my problems at once. Healing wards can be placed at a bit of a range. I tried dropping the totem near the Tauren before triggering the event, to see if I could heal him. To my surprise, he doesn't actually exist until the trigger is crossed. Thinking on my feet, I used the totem's vision to draw out the centaur with Thrall's chain lightning. After slaughtering the centaur, I cross the trigger, and my bovine brother is safe for another day. Because I can save actual people with them, I've made my decision. Totems and landmines are not units. Everything else spawned by items are. A bit later, I find some more Tauren in the same circumstance as the first. I burn another totem to pull, and rescue 2 more friends. And then this guy just dies? What the heck? After rescuing a few more soldiers, there's one final Tauren. I dive the centaur this time, there's no need for any cheeky play. Most of the enemies on the map are pretty simple kills, but once I find Karen Bloodhoof, things ramp up. The end of the mission is a holdout against 3 waves of centaur. Karen's forces start off damaged. I have to use my remaining healing wards to patch them up. I burn a scroll of healing I found on them as well. The final wave in particular is monstrous. I had to burn my rare Scroll of the Beast, a Scroll of Protection, all of my healing wards, and mana potions to keep the enemies down. To my surprise, during the fight, Karen pulled all of the Tauren that I'd helped save earlier to come help him fight. This made it feel really rewarding to have helped save them. The Long March is well named. This is gonna be a slog. Thrall's horde must escort Karen Bloodhoof and his Kodo beasts to 3 oases on the map. These oases are represented by healing wells. Constantly through the mission, bands of centaur attack the front and the rear. While this is a frustratingly slow escort quest, there is an upside. Karen and his Tauren are absolute monsters. They're easily as strong as my army. While I'm moving, I don't bother defending the rear at all. After reaching the first oasis, the caravan stops to heal up all the damaged units. For some reason, Karen himself doesn't step near the healing well. I can't risk him being at low HP. So once the caravan starts moving again, I block his pathing so he gets near the fountain, and then I put him in grunt jail for a bit. This is supposed to be an exploration mission, where my forces can go off the beaten path to find some additional items. The problem is that these items suck for the most part. The only good item is at the top, defended by a lot of enemies, and it's just not worth it. I end up doing the bare minimum here, and while it means Thrall doesn't have any items, the mission is also smooth sailing. In Cry of the Warsong, I'm introduced to the Blademaster Grom Hellscream. Excuse me, Grommash? That's not his name, and it's not what anybody in the game calls him. Why is he Grommash now? Fine, Reforged. You do you. Grom Ash and the Warsong clan help Thrall clear up a fairly inconsequential Terran base, and I take it. The goal of the mission is to reach the north of the map, kill the Harpies, and buy 2 Zeppelins to deliver back home. Unfortunately, there are 4 human bases on the map, and they like getting aggressive. My Orc allies also really enjoy attacking. Unfortunately, due to rule number 2, I can't let them be throwing away their units like that. While I build a great hall near the gold mine, I build a great wall at Gromash's base. All of my infrastructure that normally would be at home goes into plugging up the holes in this weird sim city. I have to rush this project. As soon as my Great Hall finishes, my allies attack a fortified human base and are killed. After finishing off my barricade to save Grom from himself, I start to build up an army. And this is where I realize something really funny is going on. The 4 aggressive enemy bases, they're not attacking. In fact, they never attack, not even once. My working theory is that the mission works on a series of triggers. First, my Great Hall finishes. This triggers Grom to attack. Once Grom reaches the blue enemy's base, it activates another trigger, activating all 4 enemy AIs into aggressive mode. Because the raiding party is stuck at home, the Alliance stay defensive forever. This has to exist in order to protect players from being overrun by the enemy before their base even finishes. I'm not gonna lie, it feels really nice to occasionally be rewarded over my insane overcommitment to keeping my allies alive. Feeling very relaxed, I take my time to build up an army. Frustratingly, there's zero healing anywhere on this map. I opt to go for mass demolishers because my peons can repair them. I send my fleshy units to have a party in the corner just in case the enemy does have some backup attack trigger. After maxing out, I send my siege army to melt through blue's admittedly decent defenses, clear up all the creeps off of the map, and get a couple items for Thrall, and then I reach the goblin shop. The defenders of the shop are all harpies, who are flying. I don't actually have much in the way of anti-air, so I opt to build a brick of towers to cheese out the defenders. After grabbing both zeppelins, I have one last stop. I visit the Warsong base and hand off a majority of Thrall's items to the Blade Master. Thrall's never gonna end a mission well equipped, is he? Spirits of Ashenvale is a really cool mission. Instead of securing an objective or destroying a base, I have to gather lumber. A lot of lumber. 15,000 lumber. Luckily, I get to use professional lumberjack Grom Smash Hellscream. Frankly, I find it pretty offensive that Blizzard gave him a giant axe in Reforged, but he can't chop lumber. Grom is a Blade Master, a damage-oriented hero who can critically strike to deal insane damage. He also has a Windwalk ability that allows him to become invisible and pass through enemies. To help speed things up, there's a bonus quest, killing a Furbolg Chieftain. This gives access to Goblin Shredders, who are absolutely unmatched in the lumber game. Utilizing Windwalk, I can bypass the huge defensive force of my hero and sit myself snugly in this corner, able to 1v1 the Chieftain. With the help of the potion that I passed from Thrall in the previous mission, I was able to barely take down the Chieftain. At the same time, my defenses are being attacked by some Night Elves. They get Grom thrashed. Normally, you're expected to expand to a gold mine on this map. I decided I was going to try to win quickly. This is another mission with no healing whatsoever on the map, so War of Attrition sounds horrible. I instead invest my starting money into Rings of Regeneration from the Goblin Shop. I have to sell off my other items to afford it, so I'm pretty strapped for Grom cash. With 4 rings and health stone, Grom is regenerating 9 HP per second. This means he can take a bulk of the damage during fights, and he's at full HP by the time there's another one. Another bonus objective on the map are enemy trees of life. Each gives 3,000 lumber when killed. The 2 closest trees are poorly defended and die quickly. Once I reach my quota, I kill a few wisps before completing the mission, so I can reach level 6. This unlocks my ultimate ability. Blade Storm is really important because it gives Grom Splash. The Hunter of Shadows is one of those epic moments in Warcraft 3, and this time, Blizzard forgot to reforge it. It turns out clear-cutting an entire forest is a really bad idea. The demigod Cenarius is pissed and he wants revenge. Large attack waves strike 3 of my 4 bases. Luckily, the bases only have a handful of peons in them. They're easily retreated. These attack waves will converge on my base across the river soon enough. I start mass producing towers to deal with them. I start off with 15,000 lumber from the last mission. The only resource I have to think about is gold. The objective of the mission is to kill Cenarius, a literal forest deity, and the strongest enemy that Warcraft 3 ever expects you to fight. Cenarius is a nightmare, able to easily kill units in 2 hits from an absurd range, as well as rooting enemies so they cannot escape his wrath. But most importantly, he's defended by the Divine Armor type. All damage taken is reduced by 95% if it isn't chaos damage. Cenarius has 6,000 HP, almost 10 times that of the average hero, and he has a huge HP regeneration rate. Hit and run tactics are impossible. Divine Armor can be overcome by chaos damage, which ignores it. In order to empower my forces in this desperate situation, the only choice is to drink from the well corrupted by the demon Manroth's blood, trading our souls for unbelievable power. This is one of these decisions that defines the career of a warrior. And there's no way that I'm letting Grom's legacy be stained with demon blood. We don't need Manroth's blood to kill Cenarius. Let's get building. I slowly clear out the bottom of the map with Grom. eliminating the Tree of Life early so that the enemy can't rebuild. This is where I plan my ambush. After building a maxed out army of demolishers, I begin construction of the Great Wall of Watchtowers. After building up what I feel might be enough, I send Grom to pull Cenarius.
Demon-spawned wretches, you will all die!
The fight is a grind. Cenarius takes next to no damage from each attack, demolishers sieging him from slightly outside of his enormous range. Each tower that falls brings me closer to defeat. I found a micro trick. If Cenarius sees a tower being built, he'll ignore everything to target it down. I repeatedly build towers and then cancel them for a refund while his attack is in the air. It's expensive, but I need to buy as much time as possible for my towers to fire. Each fallen tower not only brings my demolishers closer to destruction, but marks a huge loss of damage output as well. I've run out of money. Cenarius isn't even close to dead. My tower count drops further and further. Occasionally, Cenarius blasts my demolisher for massive damage, forcing them to reposition. Grom can't melee for long. Cenarius is too powerful, but he does have Blade Storm. I send Grom into the fray to buy a few precious seconds. I dart Grom in and out, using a Hellstone as some final last resort healing. The final tower falls. My line of defense is gone. And the demigod has fallen, and the Warsong is supreme. Meanwhile, Thrall is playing with blimps. Where the Windrider's Dare is a drastic decrease in difficulty from killing a literal god, but still has some interesting challenges in its own way. There are two human bases at the north of the map. The northeastern base must be destroyed. The kicker is that it's inaccessible by ground. Either Goblin Zeppelins must be used to transport my army, or Wyverns can be used to assault the base. Unfortunately, I don't have any Wyverns and I can't build them yet. A group of Harpies have kidnapped my Wyverns, and that's just rude. This mission has put me in a fairly weird position. I need to defend the human attack waves. I also need to attack the Harpies to unlock the Wyverns. However, each unit that I build in order to do these things costs me supply, decreasing the number of Wyverns that I can make before I'm supply blocked. I don't want to attack from the ground. The Griffin Riders defending the base deal absurd damage. I need the maneuverability of the Wyvern in order to pull back when they're hurt. I opt to defend with a cube of towers. This is normal at this point in Orc missions. I don't build a single combat unit. Instead, I buy tons of mana potions from the nearby Goblin shop, and spam Thrall's Chain Lightning ability to slowly whittle down the Harpies. It's an expensive process that leaves me with 64 supply worth of Wyverns to build. Once I rescue the Wyverns, I max out and wait. The blue base is scary overall, but one aspect of it is terrifying. Kelv Sternhammer. This level 9 Mountain King loves his Storm Bolts. They deal ridiculous damage to my Wyverns and stun them for a long time. If one unit gets hammered, it's almost guaranteed to die. I wait until Kelv attacks my base, then I dash my Wyverns to counter. I avoid the Griffin defenses and fly to the less defended rear of the base, and target down the altar that Kelv is trying to respawn from. After the altar falls, I clear the base of peasants and their castle. They can no longer rebuild or repair. The remaining cleanup is pretty easy. Wyverns deal fantastic damage and are very maneuverable so they can stay out of trouble. The Oracle is one of the easiest no-build missions I've ever played. I have to reach the same spot with the currently split up Thrall and Cairn Bloodhoof. Thrall's forces are fairly robust. Proactive use of Chain Lightning weakens the enemies pretty severely before the fight even begins, and the healing ward ability from the Troll Witch Doctor keeps everybody patched up. Most of the enemies are fairly generic skeletons who go down easily. There are a few human footmen that try to ambush, however they're weak to Chain Lightning so they're not a problem either. The final fight for Thrall is a dragon and some Harpies, who are fighting each other. After the dragon wins, I finish him off and move on to Cairn's portion. The beginning for Cairn is a bit more suspect. He has no regeneration on his team, only beef. This part drops some pretty important items though. A group of kobolds drop a Talisman of Invasion. There's a lot of Quillbore in this pit. There's a sequence where you can activate some spikes to kill them all, but if you kill the leader with units instead, he drops a very important item, the Necklace of Spell Immunity. I need this badly, so I take the fight. After reaching the Fountain of Health, my Tauren are ready to mosey on over to Thrall. This big robot dude is supposed to be a scary boss, but kiting him over to Thrall means he goes down easily. The most important thing I do on this mission is hand over all of my durability increasing items to Thrall. It took 7 missions, but this green boy is finally geared out. By Demons Be Driven is an insane final mission. After murdering a demigod, Grom got arrested. I have to break him out of demon jail. Thrall is given the Soul Gem to save his friend from prison. The problem is that this mission is monstrous. Fel Orcs cause chaos damage, ignoring all armor types, meaning that despite it being a mirror match, my units lose in a 1v1 scenario. It's not even close. There are 2 huge Fel Orc bases guarding the 2 paths to the demons. Defending against Fel Orcs is rough, but taking the fight to the Orcs while I have very little in the way of healing is a nightmare. Jaina acts as an ally in this mission. Her human base is fairly well guarded, but it needs help against the crushing attack waves as time goes on. In order to fulfill rule number 2, I went with the typical Jaina can't be killed and her town hall can't be destroyed. This can be a bit tricky. If the Fel Orcs connect with Jaina, she melts almost instantly. After the Fel Orcs is a legion of demons and warlocks. The Doom Guards have the powerful cripple ability that drastically reduces my movement speed, and the warlocks have a firebolt spell that deals damage and stuns. This means that the demons will cripple me, stun me, surround me, and execute me. It is hard. After 5 or so minutes, Infernals start raining from the sky. They have insane health pools, deal huge area damage, and are immune to magic. They can spawn anywhere, including in my base and during other attacks. This mission is the epitome of hardcore. With all this in mind, there's only one option for victory. I'm gonna have to create a titanic army of... Oh, we're done? I haven't even built a unit yet. Okay.